It's time to put a little bit of context around a question that I've heard, and this has come from I'm not necessarily certain who exactly these people asking these questions would align themselves with, but I do know that some of them will align themselves with PlayStation. Sometimes they'll align themselves as, people who play on console. Now, this question has been, what is it to PC gamers about this entire conversation about the consoles? People would say things like, you're a PC gamer, VG. You should talk about PC and stop talking about the consoles. I think usually when I get close to unveiling a lot of what the gaming industry looks like, they start saying stuff like that. They don't want me to paint the gaming industry when it regards to console in a bad light, but to be honest, if they're painted in a bad light and it's a truth, then it's just a truth. It helps you and I, as the consumer, to be able to act accordingly when we see something that either benefits us or doesn't benefit us. That's one side of the conversation. The second side of the conversation is a lot of people don't necessarily realize how much PlayStation and Xbox influence majority of the market across the board in terms of games. You see, these two publishers have created ecosystems that developers kind of, for the most part, align themselves to or with. Let me explain. Imagine your whole development process. You spend maybe millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or maybe in the case of GTA 6, billions, I think, in making your game. And what are you making your game for? You're making your game for hardware. But the consoles have something that's basically called target hardware that's ubiquitous and uniform. This helps and creates a standard for a lot of these video games to be developed in a way that's streamlined and will be delivered to those machines. This right there is a solid piece for a business to understand exactly how they're going into a market, how their game is going to be designed, what ambition their game is going to basically follow up. And so that's one of the reasons consoles are very important. Then they go ahead and work their way to developing, or I guess I would say optimizing for PC, because the games are developed using PCs. Like the PC is the primary source of developing and making the game. Don't get it wrong or twisted, but if they have a strong process, they can do all of that. I say all that to go ahead and show you this particular new statistic that shows that Xbox, being the top publisher, this is from John Welfare, and placed on Xbox and PlayStation in pre-orders and pre-installs, and this one that says PC Game Pass revenue increased 45% year over year. This is the second time we're seeing an increase regarding Game Pass and PC from Xbox's financial reports. They've been working very hard to actually put themselves and maintain a presence on PC. Since 2016, they've been getting their games from Xbox Game Studios on the PC platform. And crazy enough, those games, some of them have actually been doing well. If you want to go ahead and verify, check the Steam best of 18, 19, 21, 22, and all those years all the way through now. More than likely, you'll find an Xbox game pretty much hiding in every single year. Maybe one of the categories, I guess maybe the middle or the low tier categories. But again, many of them made their way into the top 100 games sold on Steam in those respective years. So what this means is there are people who are on PC who've always, in a sense, enjoyed Xbox games. Some of them probably left from console to, getting a gaming PC. And so when these Xbox games showed up, they played them. Some of them probably played old school Microsoft games that were always available on PC, like Flight Simulator. And when other games came, they enjoyed them. And some others probably never did play. And then when they started to show up from 2016, they started to play. Now, Game Pass, as the proxy that's showing the increase right now, is one that really does make this whole conversation very interesting, because as it stands, Game Pass was one that a lot of people said, on PC was probably not going to attract a lot of PC gamers. Well, this was probably true for a minute, because a lot of the games that were being offered were mostly Xbox Game Studios games. However, something has now been introduced into Game Pass that's some sort of a wild card, and that is pretty much Bethesda's library as well as Activision's library. This changes the conversation because Bethesda is a massive publisher on PC. They've designed and created a legacy, so it's not too far to see people who play on PC and enjoy these kinds of games start looking and making their way into discovering not just the Bethesda games on Game Pass, but other things at the end of the day. I mean, gamers are gamers, okay? As much as everybody will tell you that we appreciate and enjoy Steam for what it is that they do, at the end of the day, we all want to save money. And if anybody was paying attention to what I think is the most important interview of the year, which was the interview that Kind of Funny Games did with Matt Piscatella, I think this whole Microsoft's, Q4 analysis is not going to surprise anyone. In fact, if anything, I think it actually is going to pretty much go ahead and confirm it much more because, again, you got to understand and you got to realize that people have limited resources. So when Matt Piscatella was talking about Fortnite Revolution and talking about all of this stuff in terms of gaming and talking about what kinds of gamers would buy games and to what measure and what extent they're going to engage in gaming, this interview was the teacher. It was the lesson that should have showed all of us exactly where it is that gaming was going. So seeing as, according to Matt Piscatella, there's only a percentage of about 4% of gamers that would buy one or more games every month, and the percentage of gamers that would buy one game every 6 months being like 12%, and then 30% of gamers will never buy a video game or not buy a video game in a given year. It's not surprising to see that there are PC gamers who are actually behaving a similar way and are going on Game Pass to subscribe to get more value for their money. As much as we have CD keys and all of these things that actually bring games to the PC platform at reduced prices, I can say with some measure of, I don't know, I guess I'll call it surprise. Yes, that Game Pass is seemingly now starting to, I don't know how to put it, interest more and more PC gamers. But this was what Xbox always wanted to do. Remember, early, I think it was this year or last year, they had mentioned or signaled that they wanted to go ahead and make their PC store more attractive. They wanted to reduce the profit sharing on PC to make it attractive for more developers. But I think the most important thing is they need to get more people in here. And one way to get more people in here is value. Anybody who comes into this particular ecosystem, they may have a good number of games, already, but think about PC gamers. The stats showed last year that most PC gamers spent about 90% of their time, or some crazy number, playing old games. PC gamers play old games. This is like some article showed it. There it is. 92% of their time on older games. So if most PC gamers are spending 92% of their time on older games, then there's something to be said about older games. Well, we like them. They're quality. They've undergone patches, all of those things. And another thing is they're cheap. And if one thing the PC gamer understands is that meticulousness with your funds. Think about it. You have to build yourself a PC in many cases, or select one that you bought, or select one that maybe somebody, was able to give you, or whatever it is. So in that area, there already seems like some level of a desire for value that drives a player to go play on PC. That drive for value, I think, is what Xbox is leveraging here. And this is why you're seeing the growth on PC with Game Pass. Again, like I said at first, it probably was not the most attractive because, again, Xbox Game Studios games, they were not necessarily anything that, was too far out in terms of diversity. And, they weren't something that would bring in a big crowd. Yes, they did well on PC, but it's not the same weight that a lot of these games carry compared to Oblivion Remaster or Starfield. Like when Bethesda says, oh yeah, it's Skyrim in space. Ooh, like 5 million people show up. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff. Or Doom. These kinds of titles are titles that basically bring people here. And again, another thing too is a lot of people will enjoy buying these games, no doubt about that, right? But check this very interesting thing out. The gaming industry has been really weird lately, and a lot of people don't necessarily have a lot of confidence in giving money to developers day one. So Xbox having a day one pipeline already basically mitigates a lot of those commitments that people can have. And Game Pass PC is actually a cheaper tier. Think about all of the things that Xbox has actually done in this particular regard, and think about now how this is all paying off. You can see that they've carefully curated a way to be able to get into this ecosystem and be able to thrive and make money. PlayStation saw this. PlayStation understood this. When their industry shift and threat leaked, they mentioned that Xbox was going to leapfrog them because Activision, and this was based on the Activision Blizzard acquisition, provides incredible strategic value across live service games, scaling mobile and PC storefront with Battle.net, which is also another thing that they've been improving lately and selling more games on there. Then they talked about Microsoft being able to supply multi-game with 50% subscription, console games 50%, and PC 60%. They've been putting their games on PC day and date. So all of the work that they're doing is pretty much coming into what I think is is bearing fruit. And this is the kind of fruit, ladies and gentlemen, that I think they've been looking for. When their console sales started to tank in 2013 through 2015 and 2016, I think they made a very smart move to bring their games to PC. Opening that door really helped them realize that they could create a sustainable business and stay in gaming. For the last few years, a lot of people have been talking about how they were going to go out of business and such, but they did not see this angle. This angle was pointed out, and I pointed it out over and over and over again in multiple videos, but some people closed their ears and yelled, la, 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 la. Well, now that it's starting to pan out, I hope they're probably paying attention at this moment. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you so much. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.